And good morning. Thursday it is. 74 as you're starting your day. We'll get to around 90 for a high. Our rain chance is sitting at 70%. So we'll most likely get wet before this is all said and done today as we take that quick look at radar. Where is everything and what's going on right now? As we pull up Meridian Honda radar, we do see that the showers are, Illinois. Look at this as it makes its way across here toward Kentucky. Once again, they don't need any. Jonesboro, Arkansas. Right along in there, heavy rain making its way toward Jackson, Tennessee, in those areas. We are picking up some fog around Hattiesburg, Biloxi area this morning, getting some showers, and Alexandria, Louisiana. Also thick fog down in that area there. As we zoom into the Biloxi area, a lot of showers there on Highway 90. If you've got to travel that area this morning, be careful. It's wet, it's wet, it's wet. We'll watch the weather for you throughout the day and go live should it be necessary. I don't think any severe weather is expected for us. Have some heavy downpours. We did have that later, right at dark last night as it moved through Clark County and across northern Lauderdale County. It was a wet one, to say the least there. Boy, we had a lot of wrecks yesterday. We'll talk about those in a moment as we start your day. How are you? See a lot of you already up and stirring. Bree Packer, Sandy White is up. Teresa Breedlove, glad to see you. Also, let's see, Becky Vickers, Clarence Westbrook, Bernadette Odom, glad to see y'all. Hope you're feeling well today. Not a bad day. I've had 2 cups. I'm ready to go at this. All right, let's take a look at what we have. And I've gotten reports, maybe it's back on. I know it was down for about 14 hours or so, the Delwood Lauderdale area without internet there on Comcast side. Maybe those of you watching, if you'll let me know if y'all are back up or not. Certain areas are starting to pop back on this morning as we look to that. This has just become, when I worked radio at night and during the day I was a milkman, as we learn now. And I worked for Borden back in those days. It looks as though they are getting out of the state of Mississippi and to Alabama as they are going to be closing the plant in Hattiesburg and also Dothan, Alabama. Elsie, the milk cow, packing her bags and leaving town. It's not good. They filed for bankruptcy in 2020, and it just has not gotten any better. Sad to see. That was such a big thing in our area, especially as a kid. Borden Milk getting out of the state. Late last night, well, we won't call it late, right at dark 6:30 or so, we had another accident on Highway 19. If you were in that area, this did involve a wrecker. I don't believe anyone was seriously hurt. As we pull this up to take a look at just the location, it was right in front of Faith Baptist Church yesterday. And again, it did involve a wrecker and another vehicle. One lane of traffic was blocked for a little while as emergency officials came to the scene to make sure everything was okay and cleaned up there. One of the bigger things that happened yesterday, this was just a little bit after 5, as what they would call getting off time. A water main was struck. Water was flying about 40 feet high originally, is what I was told as we pull up these pictures here. This was the scene on 5th Street and 30th Avenue. That's where it all went down. As we pull this up, as you can see, the water is flying there. That's a heap of it. That was the old bread store, wasn't it, when I was a kid? Many moons ago. As you can see, that water was coming up out of the ground. They blocked off the street there for repairs while they worked on that yesterday in the Meridian area. As I mentioned, we got several wrecks yesterday all around the area and along I-20 as well. Mile marker 96 as we go toward that Jackson area. This was the eastbound lane. We had somebody run off the road, and let me blow this up. We can see this a little bit better. This was the scene of what it looked like yesterday as you come along. Kind of covered debris on both sides of the interstate, so it slowed down traffic on east and westbound lane, but he was traveling and ran across the interstate. Ran into that, and miraculously, no one was hurt on that. Can you believe that? That kind of spooky there. Let me show you this bigger picture of what this looked like here. Let me blow this up where you can see it pretty good. That's the scene of it. Tractor trailer all off in there, and it just parts were everywhere. A little bit more, and that could have been a deadly head-on collision, couldn't it? Fortunately, that didn't happen. We're glad of that. We did get a report of a log truck striking a bridge yesterday. Well, it turned out that wasn't the case in the Tumsuba area. It was a log truck that stuck a low-lying telephone line, some type of cable wire, we'll call it that, pulled it. It was reported that somebody had struck a bridge. That didn't happen, but there also was down the road a piece where a power line had fell and caught a grass fire. And the two sort of became tangled into it as confusion of what was happening. So that's where the story came of what's really going on. In the end, it was a low-lying power telephone line, cable line, and then a separate incident where a power line had fell and caught the ground on fire. That does happen. So that's what we had happening out toward Tumsuba yesterday. As we start looking around, we started yesterday morning off, during the morning show that an overturned truck had happened. This was yesterday morning as we look at a few of these pictures out by Jimmy Rogers Parkway. As you'll look at this, let's zoom in on that. And it was a truck flipped. It's like a bob truck that turned over. Let's hope all of this is kind of calm today and we won't have a repeat of any of that. As we look around the state, it's always important to know what's happening in Mississippi on all sides of this. We go to Jackson to where a car wreck happened, and this gets real suspicious of this. It's an 18-year-old female has died in a wreck, and that was yesterday morning. Now, here's where it gets kind of twisted on this. The victim in the car wreck did have a gunshot wound. She is deceased now, and she had trauma. They are investigating as to what she died from, the wreck or a gunshot. We don't know. That was in Jackson. Will this turn out to be another homicide for the state? In Jackson, it leans that way. As we learn more about that, we'll know. 18 years old, losing your life. How horrible. Just a bad situation. Tate stepping up to the plate as he says he's going to send back money to the federal government. Why? Well, we've seen this in many states, and Mississippi was one of the ones that got the money, the federal aid of the rental assistance, and how that helped it up to 15 months with your utility bills and also your rent. He says any money that is left over, they're sending it back to the federal government and stopping this assistance immediately. He says Mississippians need to get back to work. If you want a job, there's most likely a job for you in the state. A lot of states probably should do that. America has just sort of sat down, hadn't they? As we look around for this, as we go to a Jackson County woman, you scratch your head how people can do things like this. A lady was in her car, and this happened a while back, but he's been sentenced for this yesterday. She was murdered. They tried to take her car. She was choked and then run over and her car stolen. They have finally sentenced the man who did this. Octavius Black was his name. He's 35 years old. He's going to get it for capital murder is what he's been, life without prison. She lost her life over a car. How senseless. Is life in prison enough? As they say, no chance of parole, but as we've seen many times in other cases, I'm not saying it'll happen in this, as the years go by, that changes. Is that strong enough? Is that what makes criminals do repeat things? Is they kind of feel like, well, there's really nothing going to happen to me. Don't know. As we look to the coast, getting ready for the deadline, this is coming up on the 15th, and so many people go attend this, Cruising the Coast. Have you ever been? I have not been. I hear it's great. But the 15th is the deadline for early registration. It happens in October. Many Mississippians and people all across the United States descend upon the Mississippi Gulf Coast for that. So it's a big one. Shad White yesterday. This is major money. And in small ways, they're finding this. $350,000 a year. Well, I guess in the big scheme of the scandal of the millions and almost maybe $1 billion stolen in the welfare fraud, maybe it's not as much, but $350,000 to the working man and the taxpayer is a lot of money. And they have uncovered about $350,000 that's being spent on cell phones in the state of Mississippi to where they're not really being used. Either they're not used at all or have such low usage they're not of use. And as Shad goes into this, he goes on to say that they could use this to buy 14 police cars a year, or they could employ 11 people with that money. What are they going to do? We'll see. He just reports it, and then it's up to the state to go in and fix these things. It's a lot of money. And again, a lot of companies, large companies, this happens. I've seen it, to where that cell phone thing, somebody leaves, they turn it in, and, well, they just keep paying the bill. Nobody checks it. Basically, that's what they're doing in the state of Mississippi. $350,000. Something to think about there. Possibly justice. Carthage. Not all that far from where I'm sitting right now. A lot of people watch us in the Carthage area as you go north of the Meridian area. A person's been arrested for the senseless road rage murder. If you'll remember a week or so ago, a 39-year-old man, William Carden of Carthage, was killed in a road rage accident. They've arrested the man that done that. It's an 18-year-old. Cortland, and I may not be able to say his name correctly, Pilgrim, P-H-E-L-E-G-M, has been arrested for the murder of that. 18 years old, shot a 39-year-old for road rage. Right here in the state of Mississippi. We don't hear of things like that often. We pass along condolences. I'm sure he had a family that depended upon him. That's what makes this stuff just so senseless. We go to Vicksburg, Mississippi, and is this someone sending a message? Is it gang? I don't know. You decide, because we don't really have the details. We just know this happened. A Mississippi Highway Patrol officer had his car parked in his yard. He woke up to gunshots. His car was shot up, back window blown out. That's not good. Almost sending a message, isn't it? Now, again, I don't know the details or what's going on with the investigation, but I don't like that. Kind of makes you wonder what is in store, what's next. We still have not had any arrests in Lauderdale County as these 4 go around robbing stores. We've had 2 that were armed robbery, and then we've had these 8, 10, 11, 12, maybe stores broken into where they kill the power. Believed to be the same people, we think. Can't bet my life on it, but we think it's a connection to all of it. Still no arrest. Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department are working hard to solve that. There's been a lot in the city as well. Let's see here. 10 years is what this next guy's getting. Why? Bank robbery. Went into a Starkville bank and robbed a bank. Happened in September 21. He faced a judge this week. 10 years was his sentence. We'll see if he spends that next 10 years in there, as they say. This is one of those of, you don't hear of it very often on a highway. And I'm not sure that they're allowed on highways. But a 4-wheeler and a motorcycle hit head on. We hate to see this. Happened in Monroe County. 2 people died. Condolences to those families. And this is, we go Forest County, which is south of the Meridian area. A 23-year-old mother has been charged with first-degree murder in connection with the death of her 5-year-old child. I think there were 2 other children in the home. Selective Services, Children's Services has come in and moved in on this. The child was taken and died on August the 2nd, 2 days ago, and she's been officially charged with this. They don't give us exactly what happened to the child. We don't know the inside details of this. But a 5-month-old has lost their life because of child neglect, it looks like. Again, you're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. 2 other small children. Let's hope that they'll be safe now. The father was also arrested after this, being in the household. Breaks my heart to even have to tell stories like that. We see that also this week that a Mississippi woman was also killed in a single car wreck. Caitlin Baker, 23 years old, lost her life in Pearl River County, which is south of us. If you were going to be going toward Slidell, Louisiana, go south as far as you can in Mississippi. And that's where that wreck happened. Condolences to her family also. Now, I know a lot of us from time to time from here have to go west. We go down, as I just mentioned, Slidell, and you go and you head toward yonder way, west toward Texas, and you have to go across Louisiana. You go through Baton Rouge, you cross the big bridge. Everybody with me? And before long, you find yourself on this bridge that goes forever. I can't remember the exact mileage, but somewhere around 25 miles, I think. It could be a little longer. And it's called, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Appalachia Basin Bridge. Did I get close? I'm not as well with my Cajun speaking, but be warned on this, because I've traveled it many, many, many times. Appalachia, maybe that's better. That bridge there. They're doubling fines starting this week on there. Now, what it cost you before was $175 if you were caught speeding on that bridge. Now that's doubling. They'll go to $350. If you get a second fine on that bridge, your fine will be $1,000. They're reclassifying that bridge, and they will up the math on you. And there's a lot of, and it's monotonous because it's just that little 2-lane narrow bridge that goes through there. It's 4-lane, but it's just, you know how the lanes are. So don't be speeding if you go through there going toward Texas for any reason there. At some point you may have to do it, especially if you go toward Houston for any reason there. Lake Pontchartrain just across there. Somebody caught a 6-foot shark. Wouldn't have thought that. All eyes are on Texas, actually Florida today. Why? There's a release that says Ron DeSantis is really going to have a major announcement today that is going to make a meltdown on the liberal side of things. Fox News reporting that this morning. I have no idea what he's going to be talking about. I don't think it's a bid to announce his candidacy for presidency. I don't think that. I think it has something else. But they're going to have a fit is what Fox News is saying. We'll watch Florida today for whatever the arrest may be there. As we go to, where is this at? Chicago. 18-year-old worker decided that she needed to get off a little bit early. She's in jail now for doing this, but she called in a shooting threat. She's been arrested. She'll get permanently off work. Get to spend some time somewhere for doing that. Makes you scratch your head, doesn't it? Already 6:47. Okay, Sandra says this. I'm going to try this. Yeah, I can't do it. I tried. I'll say that. That's just really tough for me. ACH space A space FA lay. Filet. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to go back to whenever they taught that in school, of this pronunciation of English that I just cannot pronounce. I tried. But it is a terrible bridge. Bernadette said, I think a lot of people have that problem like me. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone because it's just going to get worse from here, me trying to pronounce that. Ooh, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's the long bridge outside of Baton Rouge. It's a very slow go sometimes, but watch your speeding tickets there. We got a lot going on this morning. We're going to be checking your forecast next here in just a moment. Let me hit this so we'll be ready when we come back to give you that detailed forecast of what's going on in our neck of the woods today. What will happen, we'll let you all know about all this good stuff. That's on the way as we begin our Thursday, believe it or not.
One of the most important places to you is your home. That's why Patrick Allen Companies is proud to provide style, functionality, and security to your home. There's nothing quite like a well-designed overhead garage door or vinyl replacement windows, or the safety of a storm shelter to help your family feel protected. Patrick Allen offers doors and windows for commercial and industrial with dozens of innovative designs. Patrick Allen Companies, safety, service, and satisfaction.
As the days get hotter, Sanders Gas reminds you to get your air conditioner tuned up. Sanders Gas can repair or replace your whole unit, whichever you need. Talk to Sanders about a tankless water heater now and never run out of hot water. Find out how easy and affordable it is to cook on gas stoves. And those backyard barbecues are coming. Don't run out of gas. Get yours refilled today. Sanders Gas, since 1946, 611 26th Avenue South, 601-693-4054. Good morning, Sheila Bounds. Glad to see you there with us. Jennifer Clark, how are you? I see Peggy is up today. Also, Sandra, along with Karina. She says her daughter lives in Pearl River. Been through there many times in that area there. All right, as we look to the weather, not so bad today, but the odds of us getting wet are pretty strong. Let's get into what the National Weather Service has to tell us about all of this morning. Then we'll go back and look at radar to let you know what's happening right now.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
As we go back in time and check those record highs and lows, 1897. Hardly a man would be alive now. 103 on this date. Back in 1998. Doesn't sound all that far away, but it is now, isn't it? Some 25 years ago. 63 was the cool weather on this date back in 98. As we look at the showers today, it looks like it'll be a little bit heavier here in the southern portion of the state around Laurel, Hattiesburg, but we will get our share across East Mississippi as we look at this, even lighter showers as you get further north toward Louisville, Columbus, and then start to fade out as you get toward the northern part there. As we come across and we look at what's happening in Alabama, a little bit lighter stuff there for the Demopolis area and even lighter over toward Montgomery. but rain in the forecast for y'all as well. Scattered. The heat stress is not as bad again. It'll warm back up for us, but we're almost into like a small lull at the moment, at least for today anyway, as we don't have any heat index. It'll be less than 99 in our area. We'll have to go over here to the Mississippi Delta, back into Arkansas in those areas for the 105 plus. But don't you worry, we're not going to be left out very long. It'll be coming. As we see this, and this is that lull, we're almost at normal here in the state of Mississippi and Alabama and portions of Georgia through here. But as we look back to our west, we got some more hot weather headed our way. Now, here's our forecast for today. Let's take a look at what the National Weather Service is telling us to expect today. Our high today, 89 to 90, depending upon where you are. Not too bad. That doesn't sound bad at all. We do have a 70% chance of these showers that are moving in today. The heaviest chance will be between 3 and 5. Now, what makes that bad? That's about getting off time. And as we always see as we try to hurry home, try to get there, accidents happen during this. So y'all be careful late this afternoon when you get off. Roads will be slick. As we move into tonight, decreasing to a 30% chance of rain. And that should end by, let's call it somewhere around 8:30 tonight. By tomorrow, we're down. Look at that. Only a 20% chance of rain tomorrow to end the week. Our high will warm back up to 92. 72 for a low tomorrow night. As the weekend begins, Saturday is our better day. 30% chance of rain. 40% chance of rain on Sunday. Not too terribly bad. And then as we go back to work, those rain chances increase Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Look at that. 50% chance of rain is what they're forecasting as we move into this. Now let's jump another week into this all the way to August the 18th. This year's flying. As we look at temperatures holding steady at 90, but we still have rain chances every day. We do need it. It's dry. It's soaking it up as it pours down, without a doubt there. But temperatures not as bad as they could be. So we're not going to complain on any of this as we look at these temperatures that are headed our way. So what's happening with the tropics? We have been blessed. But again, we are not through the month of August. I want to remind you of that as we look at this, of what's going on in the tropics. As we look to the Gulf of Mexico and we go out to the Atlantic for the next 5 days, nothing there. It's been a mild year. Again, as I mentioned yesterday, they did say this year would have 17 named storms. If we do that, it's going to be hopping at some point where there's almost 2 a day or so if you do the mathematics on that before this all ends. It's going to have to pick up. August, usually right there at the end of August and September where it really gets it. I think it officially goes to November. November 1st is when it ends, but it's always at August, September time that is usually the worst. I'll go back and check my math on that. I don't think that was right. Best times to fish today as we go over to Chet's Paint and Body. Yeah, today begins at 6 o'clock, going on right now through about 8 o'clock today. If you're already in the water, that's great. Second time to do this will be this afternoon, right around 6:30 as you get off. You go out and do a little bit of fishing. You might get wet during that time period. The wind's going to be light southwest, increasing 5 to 10 today if you're going to be hitting the water. As we mentioned, let's pull this back up and look at radar and see what we've got shaking this morning when it comes to where the rain is. And again, we've got fog moving in pretty thick here as we look at this morning. Let me pull this up where you can see it good. Right in this area around Hattiesburg, Laurel, Ellisville, Collins, Taylorsville, starting to see some heavy fog too. Now, do we expect this to still linger around? Yeah, we'll watch this throughout the morning hours. But be careful as you head toward the coast or anywhere in the southern portion of the state, Hattiesburg, those areas. And this is a gully washer going on right now as we look to the coast here. Highway 90, D'Iberville, Gulfport, all these areas getting pounded with storms this morning. Be careful, that 15, Highway 90, all those areas and in between as we get a little bit closer down here. 605 getting wet, but 90 taking the brunt of that right there. And Interstate 10 as you get a little bit closer in this zoomed-in map here of what's going on. That's a lot of rain coming down. Again, that's the Mississippi Gulf Coast this morning. Even over to Ocean Springs, Biloxi getting wet today. And it's more out in the Gulf there. You had that, well, vacations are about over, aren't they? I'll remind you of this as well as we talk about what's going on today. Out of the norm, it's back into your daily routine now. We've got school buses. There's a lot of kids that will be on the sides of the road. I'm sure you've seen them already. As parts of the kids go today, part of them go tomorrow. But a lot of time, kids are excited. Be careful with this where they'll dart out trying to load the school bus, not paying attention. It's just a kid. Use extra caution on your daily travels or where you go. We want to make sure all kids are safe. Just have your extra radar up, so to speak, of where you go and what you do. Again, up until 8 o'clock and anytime after 2 o'clock in the afternoon through 5:30. A lot of these bus routes, when you live off the rural route, takes them a while to get the kids home. We want y'all to just keep that in mind with what you do each day. I got Candace getting ready. She promises she's going to iron up some stuff and come on in this morning. We'll kick that off at 8 o'clock. I hope you'll come back and join us as we begin this. Equipment first day of school is today. Thank you, Leela. It is, so y'all watch that. We'll be back. Have a wonderful day. Right now, 74 as we get it all going there. We'll see you soon. The Scotty Ray Report.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners: